Perhaps what is most striking when delving into the diary of Samuel Pepys in June 1665 is that we find him recording the day-to-day. From his discreet dalliances, his fashion foibles, details of England's triumph after defeating the Dutch. And, of course, as we reach June, increasingly the fears and the sadness cast by the shadow of the Great Plague. In these extraordinary times, Pepys's record provides us with a glimpse of a human story from 355 years ago that resonates with that of our own. From lockdown in London, I wish all of our viewers well, wherever you may be. Now, if you like what you see, then please do subscribe. But first of all, it's time for us to time travel once more, back to the year 1665. Hello and welcome. Are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin. I'm Tom Barclay-Matchett, the London Storyteller. I share the stories of the people, places and personalities that have made London the finest city on earth. I'm currently sharing readings from the diary of Samuel Pepys from the year 1665, an era with many parallels to our own. Now, please do settle in, and we shall begin. June the 1st, 1665. Up and to the office, where I sat all the morning. At noon to the Change, and there did some business, and home to dinner, with a creed comes. And after dinner I did put on my new silk Camelot suit, the best that I ever wore in my life, the suit costing me above £24. In this I went with him to Goldsmiths' Hall to the burial of Sir Thomas Viner, which hall, and haberdashers also, was so full of people that we were fain for ease and coolness to go forth to Paternoster Row to choose a silk to make me a plain ordinary suit. That done, we walked to Cornhill, and there at Mr. Cade's stood in the balcon and saw all the funerals, which was with the blue coat boys and all old men, all the aldermen, and the Lord Mayor and the companies. And the number of the company was very great, the greatest I ever did see for a tavern. Hither came up to us Dr. Allen, and then Mr. Povey and Mr. Fox. The show being over, and my discourse with Mr. Povey, I took coach and to Westminster Hall, where I took the fairest flower, and by coach to Tothill Fields for the air, till it was dark, I light, and in with the fairest flower to eat a cake, and there did do as much as was safe with my flower, and that was enough on my part. Broke up and away without notice, and after delivering the rose where it should be, I to the Temple and Light, and came to the middle door, and there took another coach, and so home to write letters, but very few, God knows, being by my pleasure made to forget everything that is. The coachman that carried us cannot know me again, nor the people at the house where we were. Home to bed, certain news being come that our fleet is now in sight of the Dutch ships. The 2nd of June, 1665. Met an express from Sir William Batten at Harwich, that the fleet is all sailed from Solbay, having spied the Dutch fleet at sea, and that if the calms hinder not, they must needs be now engaged with them. The 3rd of June, 1665. All this day, by all the people upon the river, and almost everywhere else hereabout, were heard the guns, our two fleets for certain being engaged, which was confirmed by letters from Harwich, but nothing particular, and all of our hearts filled with concernment for the Duke, and I particularly for my Lord Sandwich and Mr. Coventry after his Royal Highness. The 7th of June, 1665. This day, much against my will, I did in Drury Lane see 2 or 3 houses marked with a red cross upon the doors, and Lord have mercy writ there, which was a sad sight to me, being the first of that kind that to my remembrance I ever saw. It put me into an ill conception of myself and my smell, so that I was forced to buy some roll tobacco to smell and to chew, which took away the apprehension. The 8th of June, 1665. About 5 o'clock my wife came home, it having lightened all night hard, and one great shower of rain. She came and lay upon the bed. I, up and to the office, where all the morning, I alone at home to dinner, my wife, mother, and Mercer dining at William Joyce's, I giving her caution to go round by the half moon to his house, because of the plague. I to my Lord Treasurer's, by appointment of Sir Thomas Ingram's, to meet the goldsmiths, where I met with great news, at last newly come, brought by Bab May from the Duke of York, that we have totally routed the Dutch. That the Duke himself, the Prince, my Lord Sandwich, and Mr. Coventry are all well, which did put me into such joy that I forgot almost all other thoughts. The sum of the news is victory over the Dutch, June 3rd, 1665. This day they engaged, the Dutch neglecting greatly the opportunity of the wind they had of us, but which they lost the benefit of their fireships. The Earl of Falmouth, Muskerry, Mr. Rod Boyle, killed on board the Duke's ship, the Royal Charles, with 1 shot. Their blood and brains flying in the Duke's face, and the head of Mr. Boyle striking down the Duke, as some say. Earl of Marlborough, Portland, Rear Admiral Sansom to Prince Rupert, killed, and Captain Kirby and Abelson. Sir John Lawson, wounded on the knee, hath had some bones taken out, and is likely to be well again. Upon receiving the hurt, he sent to the Duke for another command to the Royal Oak. The Duke sent Jordan out of the St. George, who did brave things in her. Captain Jerwood Smith of the Mary was second to the Duke, and stepped between him and Captain Seaton of the Urania, 76 guns, 400 men, who had sworn to board the Duke. Killed him 200 men and took the ship, himself losing 99 men, and never an officer saved, but himself and a lieutenant. His master indeed is saved, with his leg cut off, Admiral Opton blown up, Trump killed, and said by Holmes, all the rest of their admirals, as they say, but Everson, whom they dare not trust for his affection for the Prince of Orange, are killed. We have taken and sunk, as is believed, about 24 of their best ships, killed and taken 8 to 10,000 men, and lost, we think, not above 700. A great victory, never known in the world. They are all fled. Some 43 got into the Texel, and others elsewhere, and we in pursuit of the rest. Thence, with my heart full of joy, home, and to my office a little, then to my Lady Penn's, where they are all joyed, and not a little puffed up by the good success of their father, and good service indeed is said to have been done by him. Had a great bonfire at the gate, and I, with my Lady Penn's people, and others to Mrs. Turner's great room, and then down into the street. I did give the boys 4 shillings amongst them, and mighty merry, so home to bed, with my heart at great rest and quiet, saving that the consideration of the victory is too great for me to presently comprehend. The 10th of June, 1665. Lay long in bed and then up and at the office all morning. At noon, dined at home and then to the office, busy all the afternoon. In the evening, home to supper, and there, to my great trouble, hear that the plague is come into the city, though it hath these 3 or 4 weeks since its beginning been wholly out of the city. But where should it begin? But in my good friend and neighbour's Dr. Burnett in Fenchurch Street, which in both points troubles me mightily. The 11th of June, 1665. Lord's Day. Up, and expected long a new suit, but coming not. Dressed myself in my late new black silk Camelot suit, and when full ready, comes my new one of coloured Farringdon, which my wife puts me out of love with, which vexes me. But I think that it is only my not being used to wear colours, which makes it look a little unusual upon me. To my chamber, and there spent the morning reading. At noon, by invitation, comes my 2 cousin Joyces and their wives, my Aunt James and he cousin Harmon, his wife being ill. I had a good dinner for them, and as merry as I could be in such company. They being gone, I out of doors a little, to show forsooth my new suit, and back again, and in going saw poor Dr. Burnett's door shut. But he hath, I hear, gained great goodwill among his neighbours, for he discovered it himself first, and caused himself to be shut up of his own accord, which was very handsome. In the evening comes Mr. Andrews, and his wife, and Mr. Hill, and stayed, and played, and sung, and supped. Most excellent pretty company, so pleasant, ingenious, and harmless, I cannot desire better. They gone, we to bed, my mind in great present ease. The 13th of June, 1665. Up and to the office, where all the morning doing business. At noon with Sir George Carteret to my Lord Mayor's to dinner, where much company in a little room, and though a good yet no extraordinary table. His name Sir John Lawrence, whose father, a very ordinary man, sat there at table, but it seems a very rich man. Sir Richard Brown did here openly tell in boasting how he had, only upon suspicion of disturbances, if there had been any bad news from sea, clapped up several persons that he was afeard of, and that he had several times done the like, and would do, and take no bail where he saw it unsafe for the king. The 14th of June, 1665. I met with Mr. Cowling, who observed to me how he finds everybody silent in the praise of my Lord Sandwich, to set up the Duke and the Prince, but that the Duke did, both to the King and my Lord Chancellor, write abundantly of my Lord's courage and service. And I this day met with a letter of Captain Ferrers, where he tells us my Lord was with his ship in all the heat of the day, and did most worthily. Met with Creed, and he and I to Westminster, and there saw my Lord Marlborough brought to be buried, several lords of the council carrying him, and with the heralds in some state. Thence, vexed in my mind to think I do so little in my Tangier business, and so home, and after supper, to bed. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Please don't forget to add your comments, like and subscribe. Cheerio!